This is a HeadGum original.
It's 75 degrees in November, and I pitted out all my T-shirts.
Yeah, underneath a heavy jacket you wore, just because you looked at the date.
Yeah.
You didn't look at the temperature. You looked at the date, and you said, this is a day that I wear a heavy jacket.
Yeah.
Well, if you put something cold on your pulse points, apparently that will cool you down.
Makes you look extremely cool. So, it's like, I know what you're doing, that you're trying to cool your bloodstream down.
Yeah.
I'm not laughing at you, though. I will say that if you
looked a little
if you
witchy.
go out running and you come back from a run and you're really hot, I will just run cold water out in the tap and put both my wrists under the faucet. It really helps. It cools you down really fast.
I think it's like one of those like
don't laugh at what Gigi's doing.
old
That's
wives'
right.
Okay,
tales.
you're a pulse point guy.
I'm a pulse point guy. It's like you're just literally cooling your blood with cold water. It's awesome. It's like why don't more people do this? This is great. It was a trick I learned when I was living without air conditioning, going for hot runs in Virginia. You come back, it's 95 degrees. You're so sweaty. You're just like, wait, what if I just made my blood cold? And it works. Why wouldn't it work? You're making your blood cold. You know what another way to make your blood cold is, though? Being Canadian.
Are we
Looks like we
recording?
made it, guys. Looks like we made it.
Looks like
to
we made
Shania
it to
Twain.
the opening of the podcast.
Yeah.
For God's sake, you brought it around with the dumbest segue ever. The dumbest segue I've ever heard. It was cold-blooded segue.
Let's punch it.
Punch up the jam, punch it up while your feet punch up the jam, punch it up, punch it, punch it, punch it, punch up the jam, punch it up, get the party going, punch up the jam, punch it up, punch it.
I like to trick the guests into thinking we're not recording by talking about something else, but we're always recording.
Oh, okay.
That's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
trick.
Secret.
Gotcha.
That's the trick.
Yeah.
You're talking about sweaters, and then Andrew snuck it into Shania.
Did you guys know that Shania is so Canadian that when she's on tour, in every city she performs in, she tries to get, and I imagine
you
that
doing a bit?
No,
Your
no,
face
no,
is
I'm not.
telling
this
me-
isn't
okay.
a bit.
All right.
And I also was saying like Shania tries to do this. Shania doesn't have to try to do anything. You know, like anything Shania Twain wants, she gets. Except, as we'll talk about, a happy marriage with Mutt Lange.
Sure.
Oh no.
Yeah, perhaps true love. Don't. Yeah,
except perhaps
no
true love.
spoilers. Yeah.
Yeah, let's get right into
But
Mutt
whenever
Lange.
she goes on tour and she's playing in a city with an NHL team, she will wear it during some portion of the concert. I'm sure there's a lot of costume changes. The NHL jersey. Could there be anything more Canadian than just like, well, like I'm playing in Edmonton tonight, like wearing my Oilers jersey.
It's extremely Canadian. Just displaying your allegiance to hockey when your whole job is to perform music and look hot.
And like not a usual, like when you think of country music, you think of like football. Really, that's it, sports wise, you know? I just love the hockey crossover. Like, does she have a steamer trunk just full of all the NHL jerseys? Or is, like, if you're her tour manager, are you just like, do you just have like all those numbers in your phone and you're just calling the Edmonton Oilers or like the Phoenix Coyotes, like when you roll into town and you're like, hello, like we need an intern to bring over a jersey, whoever the star is right now. I don't know anything about the Phoenix Coyotes.
They don't have to have them on speed dial because she's playing the arenas that are so big that's where the hockey teams play, man.
It's not-
They're already in the green room.
She's not.
She just goes over to the top drawer in the green room, pulls it out. There's an extra jersey in there.
She's not even going to the merch store. She's going to the locker room.
You don't have to make the call. It's right next to the green M&Ms.
Wow.
So I didn't realize she was such a big hockey fan because as we talked about earlier, she's a big tennis fan.
Right.
But surprisingly, so she posted a photo on her Twitter earlier this summer. Like she's posing with a Norwegian tennis player, Casper Ruud. But I haven't seen her post any photos with any Canadian tennis players.
What Canadian tennis players are there? There's that lady who was in the U.S. Open a year or two ago, the teenager. She was Canadian,
Leila
right?
Fernandez, yeah.
Leila Fernandez.
Yeah.
So no pictures of Shania Twain with Leila
No,
Fernandez.
none with her Canadian compatriots.
None that you know of.
You're really getting to the limits of my celebrity knowledge here when you're asking me to spontaneously come up with the name of a Canadian professional tennis player.
Like not even like Denis Shapovalov, Felix Auger-Aliassime.
Yeah.
I'm just going to rattle off.
Guys, we're
Canadian
already into
players.
Gigi's tennis expertise, and we haven't even welcomed her to the podcast. I must pause to remind the listeners Welcome back, all you punching bags. You're listening to Punch Up the Jam, which is a show hosted by me, Evan Gregory, one of the hosts, and my co-host and brother and sometime colleague,
Andrew Gregory. That's me.
That's right. And this is a show in which we talk about amazing, great, wonderful, or terrible songs. And then by the end of the show, somehow, we magically improve. Well, the goal is improvement. The goal is a punch up.
Every week we make a better version of the song. We make a punch up of the song.
Sometimes, a couple times we've acknowledged it's really more of a punch left, a sideways punch. But you know what? If you're lying down and squinting, punching left is up. And we're joined by friend of the pod and repeat guest this week. Welcome back to the show, Jiji Lee, who joined us when we talked many months ago about Conga by Gloria Estefan, and she's brought a thunderous hit back to the show. You primarily know Jiji from her written work in The New Yorker, The New York Times, and many other places where the written word can be looked upon with your human eyeballs. What should we be pimping out or maximally promoting for you right now?
No, those are great. That's
great.
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll be linking to it in the show
Maybe my
description.
website, gigilee.com.
Yeah, Gigi has written a lot of really, really, really funny shouts and murmurs for The New Yorker, and you can go and read those. They're very funny. But as you're
you know
also
how
learning,
I love to learn about comedians. I love to go to their websites.
yeah, see what they were doing 2 or 3 years ago.
make my Squarespace yearly fee worth
see
it.
what Squarespace template was hot that year.
But as you're also learning about Gigi, she's personally obsessed with tennis. I don't know, has there ever been a crossover between your personal obsession with tennis and your
music?
Shouts and Murmurs articles?
No, I mean, I did try to write a tennis piece that I submitted actually to McSweeney's, but it got rejected.
Because
it
you
might
just
have been
cared too much about tennis.
You cared too
inside.
much,
Yeah, it might have been
It
too
was just about, like, I really love tennis. There's no
there was
comedy
no
in it
humor.
at all.
There was no
Yeah.
angle to it. I was just
McSweeney's is only going to accept this piece if you shit on tennis.
I was like, I just want to talk about John McEnroe for 500 words.
Has he taken
That's
a
more of
picture
a
with Shania
GQ
Twain?
piece.
Sorry?
Has he taken a picture with Shania Twain?
No, she's only had this one picture of like Casper Ruud, this random Norwegian player.
Is Casper Ruud a major hottie patati?
He's very handsome. He looks like Jake Gyllenhaal.
Okay.
Like he's the Norwegian Jake Gyllenhaal.
Sure, yeah.
He was the
I'd lick
finalist
him
at
like a
this
popsicle.
year's U.S. Open. So he's a pretty big
Is
deal.
there a chance that she'll... So Shania Twain married her producer.
Mutt Lange.
Mutt Lange. Mutt Lange's this, like, rock and roll Hall of Fame level producer. I don't know. He's probably actually in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I was just saying that idiomatically, but he probably is.
So many hits. He's like a Mount Olympus level super producer.
Yeah, he produced for AC/DC. He produced for Def Leppard. And then he heard Shania's first album, which was a flop somehow. I mean, what I'm curious about is how did he hear it? How did he hear the album if it flopped?
I guess he must have been also a country music fan. No,
I don't know.
I don't know. Tough to say.
I mean, he just... I hate to say it, but I think he probably just thought she was hot. He probably saw her video on CMT or something, even though the album was flopping. And he got in touch with her, and they started having these long phone conversations. And then they met, and he started writing with her and producing her second album, and they got married. Like that
Within, like, 6
all happened
months, I
within 6
think.
months, yeah. And then her second album was a huge hit. And she got to write all the songs on it, but co-wrote them with Mutt. After on her first album, music executives were like, no, country stars don't write their own music, especially ladies.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. You didn't know that she didn't write her first album, or you didn't know that?
I didn't know that country music musicians didn't write their own songs.
Just sort of like pop singers, or like the same way Frank Sinatra is not writing his hits, like the very old traditional model of there's writers that sit in the Brill building and crank out a million songs, and then 10 of them go out to artists or whatever. Nashville works that exact same way.
Yeah. And even like a lot of like famous country artists like started as writers and then eventually broke out. Like Willie Nelson wrote Crazy for Patsy Cline.
Okay.
Chris Christopherson wrote Sunday Morning Coming Down for Johnny Cash, and those were kind of like such big hits, and they were sort of such big personalities that they were able to break from being songwriters to mega stars.
Now, we should acknowledge that there's another song off of Shania's third record. Come On Over is the name
Which
of the record.
this is on.
Yeah.
This is on her third record.
Yeah, it came out in 1997. That this podcast has already addressed the shockingly weird song that don't impress me much. That was a giant hit and was on the charts for 3 years. Why are we choosing to punch up another song from the album? And the reason is, it's because when we're tackling the greatest hits of all time, when we look at does this song rise to the level of being a greatest hit, Shania Twain's album is not just a hit. It's in the top 10 best-selling albums in
Of all time,
the
right?
U.S. ever. Yes. 12 singles, not 2, not 3, but 12 singles came off of this record that all charted. It's so giant. It's so titanic.
This album is quadruple diamond, which means it sold 40 million albums. 40 million albums. I think it's still the best-selling country album of all time.
Yeah.
And I think it's the best-selling album by a female artist of all time.
And by
which
a
is
Canadian
crazy.
artist.
But the other reason we're punching it up is specifically because Jiji picked it.
Yeah.
And Jiji, what was it that made you pick this song of all songs for us?
Should
to
I say
punch
the
up?
name of the song?
Yeah.
Yeah, did we not even say it yet? Well, it's in the ep. Everybody already clicked it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Okay.
say it. Say it, Gigi. Say it
We
out.
picked You're Still the One
Yeah.
by Shania Twain. I love the song, and I didn't realize I had such a strong connection to this song until I saw the Netflix documentary, and like within 10 minutes of the documentary I was like tearing up, and then when this song came on I was like losing it. It's such a beautiful song, and I feel like, I mean, it's like the best first 2 lines I think of any ballad. I mean, it's such a beautiful
Wow.
intro.
Wow.
Golly, what a compliment.
This-
I can't believe you've come on here with this level of a challenge.
Enthusiasm.
You didn't complain about a single thing. You said the song was perfect.
Is it punch up?
You're daring us to punch it up. This is so cruel.
This song is perfect.
This is so cruel and mean for you to do to us.
listening to it, it's like this is the perfect ballad, and it's one of the few songs we've ever punched up. That last night, after Evan and I were already done with the punch up, I went home and I was like, you know what I'm going to put on just around the house, just to feel sentimental again after listening to this song 25 times in the last week. It's really, really good.
You know what? I put on Around the House last night after we were done working.
Whose bed has your boots been under?
No, I put on Our Punch Up because it freaking slaps.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm not gonna give it away. Yeah, you gotta earn it.
But I'm curious to hear, like, if you felt this connection to this song as well. I mean, obviously, so many people, the song resonated with so many people. And I was reading about it, and apparently it's kind of like a rare topic for ballads.
You mean like long time love as
Yeah.
opposed to puppy love?
Right, or like
Yeah.
I'm getting over you kind of ballad, or I'm heartbroken ballad. But this is like a celebratory ballad.
It's our Love Lasts ballad. Now, I mean, this came out in, I believe, 97. Is that right?
Yeah.
I believe they were married in 92. So they're 5 years into their marriage. Mutt Lange
Yeah.
and Shania Twain.
Yeah,
They write
second
the song
album.
together.
Second album was a hit.
Yeah.
They got married, and then a few years later they produced the third album, which is like the world-ending hit.
Yeah, Mutt Lange came to her with the background vocal from the chorus, and then she wrote the what you really think of as the meat of the chorus around that background vocal. Although the background vocal rules.
Which is the part that just belts. Still the one.
Yeah, and what they always said was that the song was kind of addressing. People thought their age difference was too
Right, there's
big.
a 16-year, I think.
Yeah, I
age
think
difference.
I did the math, and I think he would have been 44 when
Okay.
they got married, and she would have been 27.
So it's like Leo DiCaprio in any of his relationships.
except a shorter age distance.
Yeah,
Small age distance.
Yeah, don't
Doesn't he break up with them?
compare them to the all-time.
Doesn't he break up with them when they're like
Worst
23?
cross-generational
25? When does
Yeah.
he break
Yeah.
up with
Yeah.
them? And here they were 5 years into their relationship. Nothing was ever going to go wrong. You're still the one 5 years in to this everlasting marriage.
Andrew's being very dry and coy. Maybe we already teased it, but let's just say the thing.
One
that
of the worst
happened.
divorces of all time.
Just most insane. Yeah.
You know what? Can I begin playing the song
Yes.
so I can set the mood for this eternal love?
For how much Mutt and Shania loved each other.
I'm gonna try not to cry.
There's a few. You're right that it's rare. There's a few love lasts ballads out there. You know, it's not unheard of, but it does make it all the more tender that it's not just about teenage crushing. You know,
And that they're both singing it. That's sweet too. The two writers are singing it.
Oh,
The
is he
married
in
couple
the
singing
song
it.
too?
he's
the one singing all the background
He's
vocals.
singing the backgrounds.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Here's how it starts.
When I first saw you,
I saw love. Now this is, you know what?
First time you touched me.
I'm just pausing it because like this is in the canonical version of the song, but not all the radio edits have this talky bit,
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
which is cringe to me. But I'm pretty sure this is the album version, and sometimes on the radio they would just play like right into the verse.
Yeah.
Should we start there?
No, because the one thing that really cracks me up about this part, I've been waiting
It's
to talk
so
about
cringy.
it, is the organ, to me, I don't know how it made it into the song because it sounds exactly like Chariots of Fire.
Thank you.
No
We didn't
way.
play it. We didn't talk about this.
So I'm just imagining Shania
Running
running down the beach in their singlets.
I'm coming, Matt.
Did the Greek electronica composer who won an Oscar for the Chariots of Fire soundtrack get
Did they
points
get
on the
him?
song? I hope so.
They bring
I
him
hope
to
he got
Nashville?
points.
What's the guy's name?
I know this ain't a business
Stavros.
podcast. It's like Dimitrionis or something. The music video to the Chariots of Fire music video, you gotta go watch it. It's so funny. It's like him sitting at a piano just smoking a cigarette, thinking about what he's going to play. And then the piano comes in and he like puts down the cigarette and is like, I thought of it, and just plays da da da
Hey,
da da.
listen to it again, because that's probably why they cut it from the radio edit. Maybe. Other than
'Cause it's so random.
the dialogue bit is cheesy and cringy,
That's my
but the
Chariots of
organ
Fire
melody
impression.
is Chariots of Fire.
'Cause
Maybe
that-
if they played it on the radio too many times, Vangelis is just coming out to be like, I'm
Vangelis,
gonna need
that's
10 points on the song, guys.
just to play the intro again, Evan.
Intro of Shania Twain. Here it is.
Yes.
Now here comes the organ part. Listen to the organ
First
melody.
saw you,
I mean,
Wow.
you hear that,
I saw love.
and you know a guy is about to flop down in the middle of doing the triple jump and lose, but it's still going to be worth it and very moving and meaningful while his teammate wins another race, a different race. It's not the triple jump, it's the steeplechase. That guy's doing the steeplechase.
All right. This is what I'm talking about right here.
It's the same thing.
That's why I think they must have cut out that intro for the radio edit. Like if that song played
You
too many
think
times,
Vangelis heard it?
if it was in the rotation too many times, Vangelis would have come out and said, I need 10 points. I need 10 points on this composition,
Oh, man.
guys. All right, listen.
We got to stop talking so much about points on songwriting, or we're going to have to reclassify this as a business podcast.
This is a business podcast.
not a music podcast.
Yeah, this podcast has really been so many things, really. This podcast is sex ed, it's politics, it's music business.
So you were unfamiliar with that. You were mostly unfamiliar with the intro.
That was the first time I ever heard the intro.
Never heard the intro. Okay, so you were a radio
Though,
Yeah.
girl.
It may be a perfect ballad, but the talky intro
Is very weird.
This is
What's like-
cringe. When I first saw you, I saw love.
Are you like? How should I picture Gigi listening to this song? Like as a 13-year-old girl, like listening to like a Walkman in her Miami.
Oh no,
bedroom?
this much older version. I think
All this time,
I was in high school
you're
when this
still
song came out.
and it just hit for you.
Yeah, and so late '90s, and it wasn't like cool to like country pop ballads at that time because I grew up in Miami and I went to a performing arts high school.
Has it become popular?
Is it popular now? I mean, it's the most best-selling album by a female artist.
People are like buying it in a brown paper bag in Miami and like walking it out. Like
Right? Yeah,
hiding
like
it.
Don't tell the boys.
why aren't you listening to I don't know, Tori Amos or something? Yeah, so everyone my age was listening to Tori Amos or the Beastie Boys. So I think I had to like hide my Shania adoration.
But this just hit for you because of the pure balladhood of
The
it.
pure ballad, even though I'd never experienced any kind of romantic love, I have no idea what they're talking about. I was like, oh yeah, this is so beautiful. Like love should be like this, controversial.
Exactly like
You're
this.
beating the odds. I feel like this set up like a false idea of like what a relationship should be like.
You were just like, could I be dating a man 17 years older than me?
And there would be a lot of naysayers.
And you're proving them wrong.
Yeah, but I'd prove them wrong. Oh, I definitely can marry this man 17 years older than me. You watch me.
It's legal. Next year.
Next year. I turn 18. I don't see what could go wrong. Let me continue into the verse where actually the good part starts. Okay, already doing a victory lap.
Look how far we've come, my baby. We might have took the long way.
Shania and Mutt did not take the long way.
They'd married within 6 months of meeting each other.
Yeah, it took the short road, the shortcut. Yeah, they should have stayed on the sidewalk.
But just look at us holding on.
If your friends are telling you you're never gonna make it, is it bad of the friends, or should you like listen to them?
It's the whole time you're with Mutt, you're like, my friends are really annoying me. And then when you get divorced from Mutt Lange in 2008, you're like calling them back up, and you're like, ooh,
Sorry.
Wow.
Like for example, when she did get divorced from it, when Mutt asked her for a divorce, and she called her best friend Marie to say, "What's the deal with Mutt asking me for a
Is
divorce?"
this really how it played out?
Yes.
No.
Is he acting weird?
He asked for a divorce before she knew why?
Yes, because the affair had been going on secretly. So Shania called her best friend
my
Marie.
gosh.
Has Mutt been acting weird? Have you noticed anything? And Marie said, "No, he seems normal."
Meanwhile,
my
they were having
God.
an affair.
Because
the
she
entire
was
time.
the one having the affair
Marie
with
was
him.
having an affair.
So Marie is, for people who don't know, she was Shania's best friend, and I think also her assistant.
Please
Yeah, which is
just
a
tell the whole
little
story.
murky.
Now that
Okay.
we're
A little
into the
murky.
ballad, now that we're into the ballad of pure love, this classic song of love that stands the test of time and
Beating the odds.
goes against the great, beating the odds. Now we can tell the full
Meaning
story.
that's 4 or 5 years.
Which is that Shania and Mutt got married as in the music biz and were together for
And then they got richer than God.
15
This
years,
album-
they got richer than God.
This album made
because
them richer than God.
they're sitting on a mountain of money that is so tall you cannot see from the top.
There's
back
only
to the
one
bottom.
place you can deposit it, a pile of money that big, and that's it. That is
In
a
Switzerland.
Swiss bank.
A Swiss
You
bank.
need a Swiss bank,
And you can have a castle on top of a real Alp. And so,
which is great for winter sports.
which,
if you're Canadian.
If you're Canadian, you love. Okay, so she's living the Canadian dream.
And she loves tennis, so she's hanging out with Roger Federer, probably.
And that's peak Roger Federer. That's not 2022 Roger Federer. That's like 2002, 2006 Roger Federer.
And so she hires a neighbor to be her assistant, like
And
both
so
executive
this
assistant,
neighbor-
and it sounded like housekeeper. Like I don't. The
Really?
relationship sounds a little gray. Like, can you handle my music business affairs and also maybe clean up a little bit?
But isn't this woman also, I'm assuming, kind of wealthy?
Maybe because she was married to this like Nestle executive.
But
Yeah.
she was like, okay, but let me.
No matter how wealthy you are,
You need to work.
Shania is richer.
Yeah, but Shania is so rich that she's like, hey, I know someone would usually pay a secretary 50,000 euros a year, but you seem qualified, so I'll pay you 250. And you're just kind of like, well, that's what my husband makes as a Nestle exec. Like, all right. He's
Yeah,
like,
and I can hang out at the palace all day. So they're doing that for years, and so
they become friends,
quote unquote friends.
Scare quote. Kind of
Yeah.
a weird way to become friends, hiring someone to be your executive assistant.
Yeah, now we maybe think a little more deeply about like who's in the
Oh,
position of power here. Can they truly be friends? Well, lo and behold, Marie falls in love with
So when
Mutt.
did Shania find out? Were they fully divorced before she realized that Marie had been having an affair with him? I knew about the affair, but I didn't know that specific detail that Mutt asked for divorce before.
I want to know what is so great about Mutt that these ladies are falling for.
The man's name is Mutt.
I mean, he has a great head of hair. I'll give
isn't
him that.
a clue?
There, now you're already on the bullet point list. That's number
Great
one.
hair.
Great head of hair.
Musical.
More money
Number
than
two,
God.
More money, even perhaps than Shania, because he has written like the list of songs that this guy has written is so long, so many number one hits.
We're talking about how this is one of the biggest selling albums of all time, but Mutt Lange was the producer of the second biggest selling album of all time, AC/DC's Highway to Hell.
Back in Black is the record, right?
Oh,
That's
are
the
they
record?
also Canadian? ACDC?
They're Australian.
They're Australian.
But for whatever reason, that was their breakout album, and he produced it.
Oh, wow. And he did the Bryan Adams Everything I Do,
He did that,
which
yeah.
was, I feel like, mega hit.
mega ballad.
Yeah. So he's also sitting on an even bigger alp of money. That's got to be appealing,
Okay.
you know. Marie was probably going from her modestly large mansion over to their
Or chalet to the...
yeah, from her Swiss chalet over to their ungodly sprawling mansion.
This good of a producer and this good of a songwriter, he has to be intelligent. He has to have some level of
Romantic.
sensitivity. Like I was reading about him producing AC/DC's album, whether it was Highway to Hell or Back in Black.
The album is Back in Black.
He was like giving Bon Scott like singing lessons, like during their 3 months of recording that album. Like, if you're giving Bon Scott singing lessons and then the album Back in Black is coming out, like the guy's got skills. Like,
he's pretty. Yeah, I mean, clearly he has some or something about him. Like, I don't know if we could be trusted to be alone in a room with this guy. He's probably like very seductive.
Guarantee if I'm alone in a room with Mutt Lange, we're having an affair.
Fair.
The two of us.
yeah, Marie Ann's marriage is gonna fall apart.
Do not bring him into the HeadGum studio.
But
Do
when
not
does-
bring Mutt. You've been begging me to come on this podcast. You're not coming on the
if
podcast.
Mutt Lange wanted to be on our podcast, 100%, we have to let him.
You're
on.
like, I'm willing to let my
have to
marriage
let
my marriage
Okay,
collapse.
Mutt, if you're hearing this right now, I know we're not saying anything that hasn't been said about you and your philandering ways before. Forgive us. Forgive us all the hateration and come on the
on our
show.
podcast, Mutt.
Because I'm very curious. I want to see what you're like. In
Even though
person.
your name is dumb and should be, frankly, a signal to potential
Red
not
flag.
female suitors, but potential female settle downers. It's like this man. His name is Mutt.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that's a red.
What
flag.
other,
he
what
gives
other
guys
threats
meant-
can we levy? Mutt, we will punch up all of your number one hits.
Oh, I was surprised to see that he also did that Britney ballad. Don't Let Me Be the Last to Know. Have you heard that one?
Yeah,
It's a good ballad.
Let me be the last to know. He's one of those guys that's just like, like Dr. Luke in the 2010s or whatever. It's just like, odds are, if a song was charting during this time period, he produced it.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Muttster. The Muttster was on there. You know what? He knows how to put a romantic twist on words. Marie fell for it, he's got that skill.
But then the craziest part of the story is that Shania and Mutt divorce. He goes off with Marie, and then
we didn't even get to the
We didn't get to
craziest
the
part.
crazy part.
Come on, lay it on us.
Shania gets together with Marie's ex-husband.
This has to be just like. Do you think it's just like because it made all of the child custody more easy? Like after 2 or 3 years of just like juggling all these kids, Shania was like, well, I might as well marry Frederick.
You're right that is a side benefit. Do I believe it's the reason? No. The reason that Shania married Marie's jilted husband is because he was there. The Occam's razor of relationships is because he was just right there.
Also, he's the best person possible in the world to bitch about Anne-Marie and Mutt about.
Yes.
He has all this new gossip about Mutt that Shania doesn't even know about, where
they
he's
have-
like, oh, guess what Mutt did last week when he said he was going to pick up the kids by 3. He didn't show up till 7 because he was in the studio with Britney writing a ballad.
That's
and Shania's
true.
like, tell me more about my ex-husband's bad behavior.
Yeah, they do have one
lot of
very
dirt.
important thing in common,
Yeah.
and that's the hater raid. You say you get me one weird marriage, I say
Utah, give me 2.
Yeah.
give me 2.
Also, he also has a great head of hair.
Huh.
So maybe
okay,
she
great point.
likes guys with curly hair.
Yeah,
That kind of like
these
Kenny
are
G, Michael Bolton.
the Kenny G white guy with tight curls, lion's mane.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's using some kind of gel.
an
to-
absolute waterfall of ringlets, for sure. This song, beautiful. We've already heard some of the best melody writing that we've heard on the podcast. It's just beautiful, and we haven't even gotten to the chorus yet.
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
dropping the needle back in on the hook.
You're still the one I run to, the one that I belong to. You're still the one I want for life. Still the one. You're still
I can imagine all the women at the concerts holding up posters being like, "You're still the one, Brian."
This whole chorus of Mutts.
You got
Whoa.
6. You got 6 mutts in there. I counted them. You got about 6 mutts going. Still the one.
Also, like, Shania dealt with a lot of criticism
It's a litter
about
of
not
mutts.
being country enough.
It's a litter of mutts. I just wanted to say that.
And one nice thing about this song is it has some contemporary rock elements, like the organ kind of is like reminiscent of like Dylan or even like the Wallflower song that had just been a hit. But it has the pedal steel that like like all the Shania haters that are like, she's not a real country, she's rock and roller. Like I feel like you can put this on and they're like, okay, this is pretty good.
You gotta throw them a little bone. You throw them a little bona fide bone to say like, well, I'm still a little bit country.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm taking a big shot for the mainstream charts.
Yeah.
Like clearly that's where we're aiming here.
Yeah, but this works on all the charts. It works on the adult contemporary.
So is that what we're hearing during the bridge?
Yeah, that kind of like slide guitar thing is a pedal steel guitar, which is
that real bendy sound that you hear in the country music. That's like
sort of like a magical instrument that has all these foot pedals and knee pedals.
I was wondering what that. Yeah,
it's a little witchy. That instrument is a little. It's very voodoo. Not many people know how to play it because the number of pedals you have to be pushing while you do the bendy stuff with your fingers.
Your
very
knees
tough.
are literally between a bunch of things that you can move your knees around and change notes.
Yeah, it's one of the only instruments I
crazy.
know of that you also have to squeeze with your knees.
Yeah.
Wow.
One thing I will say about the Mutt Lange vocals, in addition to it being a litter of vocals, is a joke I just thought of personally. Ha 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 ha. Evan, is I couldn't help but think, and I'd be curious if you agree with me, Evan, because you're more production minded than I. Mm-hmm. We've talked a lot about the crossover moment of Cher, Do You Believe in Life After Love, when autotune started being used in a way that people noticed. Like, it's like, wow, what's Cher doing to her voice? T-Pain is using it as like this electronic effect, and now it's one of our pet peeves that you listen to like an album that shouldn't be super auto-tuned, like Michael Bublé's Christmas album, and it just is so much auto-tune on it. It's these totally straight electronic tones that I'm not sure the layperson can hear, but I think subconsciously makes the album really stale and flat, even for people who don't know it explicitly. But this song, the background vocals sound so perfect, but they're so straight and flat that I was kind of like, you know what? This came out in 1997. I bet this is when autotune is like just available, and Mutt Lange is in there just like auto-tuning the shit out of his background vocals. So like when this is hitting the brains of listeners on the radio, they've never heard a background vocal this perfect. They've never heard a background vocal so in tune because autotune didn't exist. So I think that subconsciously, the auto-tuned vocals of Mutt Lange made people just like super vulnerable to this. It's like a new disease or virus just spreading through a population that has no immune response to this before.
Yeah, they got infected.
Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you hear the autotune on the background vocals too?
Yes,
Am I imagining this?
I think it probably is that, you know, like where you turn it up to 7 and it gets the harmonies really dialed in and locked in, as opposed to you turn it up to 10 and you get Cher's Believe, or you know, you turn it up to 11, you get T-Pain or whatever. They do sound really locked in. It sounds artificially so. However, I must caveat by saying that we're not dealing even with your ordinary run-of-the-mill, top-of-the-line Nashville background singers. We're talking about the Muttster.
I can't believe that's just him in the background.
I think so.
I think so,
like
yeah. We know he has all these superhuman skills. He's able to do things that other humans aren't able to do on this mortal coil. And possibly singing perfectly in tune may be one of them.
Right.
And sweeping people off their feet.
In 2022, like every background vocal in every pop song is this auto-tune, so it just kind of washes over you. But I just feel like in 1997, someone would sit up and they wouldn't know what was happening, but they'd just sort of be like, oh, I've never heard a song like this before.
Yeah, it sounds normal now, 25 years later to our ears.
Yes.
It maybe sounds very fresh to somebody that's used to hearing Randy Travis or somebody who's like dialed into country music at the time. I'll just run it back a few seconds so you can hear the second half of that chorus and just think about the backgrounds.
It's still the one that I love, the only one I dream.
Unwavering.
It's still the one I kiss.
But like, on the other hand, why am I focusing on the background vocals when the rest of the chorus is like, I'm not saying the background vocals are bad, I'm just saying that it's like a secret weapon that the world didn't even know was being unleashed on them at that moment in 1997. But the rest of the chorus is obviously, as we've already said, perfect.
Yeah. I mean, it's like a Nicholas Sparks movie.
Wow. The greatest compliment that Jiji could...
I mean, I feel like it has like the same emotional impact as like The Notebook or something. I feel like,
which is like, that actually is a great compliment because it's like the broadest possible audience just like distilling it down to like the cheesiest, broadest thing that will hit the largest. Like, have we made the greatest piece of art? No, but have we made a good piece of art that can be heard by everyone? This is the Love Actually of songs.
And the Notebook, that's 2 hours of your time. Shania and Mutt Lange are doing in 15 seconds
Right? Yeah.
what it takes Nicholas Sparks.
And that's
2
why
hours
you
to do.
keep like you can listen to it over and over and over. And over.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, let's go. We're into the second verse here.
Ain't nothing better. We beat the odds.
5 years, baby.
We
beat
beat
the odds.
the odds.
We didn't listen.
Maybe we should have.
Yeah. No, we didn't listen.
We would be missing.
You know, it just always makes me think of like my aunt or whatever that's always coming to the family reunion saying like, I'm in a fight with this neighbor and the cops came to my place again. And also, let me tell you about the fight I'm in with my other neighbor on the other side. And you're listening kind of going, you know what?
This isn't hypothetical.
This is real life.
This is real.
All these conflicts have one thing in common. And it's you.
Yeah.
You know, there's one factor that was the same across all these stories. You know, if you meet an asshole 4 times a day, as we said in our punch up
Of the reason is yeah.
The Reason by Hoobastank, the asshole is yo. And if all of her friends were telling her maybe this is gonna work, you know what? They white knuckled it and made it work for 5 years. Ultimately, as we know in real life, that's at the time the song was written, right? But then as we know in real life, they made it work for 15 years. You can make a lot of things work for 15 years if you're sitting on $500 million.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So you would stay in like a
but ultimately,
unhappy marriage.
the friends were right. Ultimately, the friends were right.
Man, Mutt.
This is
Yeah. They said, I bet they'll never make it.
They said, I bet they'll never make it. But just look at us holding on.
With white knuckles on the steering wheel.
I feel like the alt title for this song should have been like red flags that we ignored.
Yeah, well, they didn't get it. Yeah, they didn't list the red flags. It's just implied because the song needs to be broad, right? We're aiming for the top of the charts. It would have been too niche, too specific if they were just like, you're 42 and I'm 25.
And my friends don't like you. Maybe neither should I.
The vagueness makes it like the perfect song to play at a kind of
That's why so many people,
like a
it.
redneck or redneck adjacent wedding. Like as a first dance, it's sort of be like, no one believed in us. And then you're getting divorced 5 years later, and your friends are like, well, you did play that Shania Twain song about how no one believed your marriage was going to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You don't want to play Brenda and Eddie as your first dance.
Yeah.
You know?
You don't want to play The Reason as your first dance.
You don't want to play The Reason is you.
We know someone's done it out there statistically, but they shouldn't have. I mean, do you think at any point during their breakup, Shania just said, Mutt, you dog, you?
Oh, hell yeah. That friggin' rocks. I don't love that you said it just now. It made me a little bit dumber pun-wise.
Yeah. Yeah, but she probably said it a lot earlier in the relationship, like as a joke. Like, Mutt, you dog, you.
Yeah. All of his friends were saying that when he's first dating Shania.
Yeah.
In his early 40s.
Oh, Mutt.
But I feel like by today's standards, do you think that age difference would be as like controversial today? Because I think that so many celebrity couples have that big age gap.
You know what? We don't know what goes on in the world of celebrities when they do be pairing off. Like everybody looks sideways, but then people just have to give them their freedom to be like, well, you know, they made it work. It's hard to say the no to somebody who's like extremely rich and famous, met another extremely rich and famous people on the set of a movie. They started smooching because the director told them to smooch fictionally, and then they did it nonfiction in the trailer.
But I don't know. Also, Mutt and Shania are writing these beautiful songs together. Like, I don't know. That must have been a really beautiful time of their life. 1992 to 1997. And they're writing one of the most beautiful songs of all time
ever
together in the studio. Like, that, I can't imagine any feeling better than that. Who cares if they're 30 and 47 at the time as they're writing this? I don't care. They shouldn't care. And it's just a bummer they moved to Switzerland. They should have stayed stateside or in Canada.
You look at a ballad like this, you're like, we did it. They know that they nailed it. They're like, we did it. We have achieved greatness in our songwriting careers. Let's French.
And it's like the perfect moment in Shania's career. Like her vocal sounds absolutely perfect.
Oh, it's like you could spread it on toast. It's so smooth.
Yeah, flash forward 10 or 20 years, and her vocal would be as auto-tuned as the background vocals, and I wouldn't like this vocal, but it's like warm and kind of and wobbly, but perfect. It's like, it's just the perfect vocal on a perfect song.
Oh,
You're still the one I
She's kind of breaking in there, like on the one.
That's country artistry. Gigi, what were you going to say?
I was going to talk about her her vocal cord damage. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, later in life.
Later in life, yeah. Her voice has now, I think, dramatically changed, according to her. So it was, I think, a side effect.
Screaming at Mutt.
Screaming at all.
You dog!
dog.
Well, apparently she had, she was bitten by a tick. And got Lyme disease, and that damaged her vocal cords.
You know, I knew those two things separately. She had Lyme disease, which sucks. You live with that for ages. It really, and vocal cord damage, I just assume, as is common in the industry, is because your whole job is just belting really loud to arenas night after night. Tons of people have vocal cord damage. They got to get the nodes removed. You got to take out the nodes.
I watched a recent performance of her performing a Post Malone song at the Grammys or the VMAs or something, and I admit that her vocal performance left something to be desired. But I was just sort of like...
You blamed it on the Post.
I was like, I don't know, maybe she's sick, maybe she's not as much of a Post fan as she claims she is.
Sure.
But also Post Malone claims that she's a big influence on him. Like a lot of... I feel like she really went out of style in the late 90s, 2000s, and now a lot of artists that are the biggest artists in the world, the Post Malones and the Taylor Swifts of the world, have really come back around on Taylor Swift. Or sorry, on Shania Twain.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I mean, it's one of the biggest albums of all time. Like, everybody heard that when they were growing up, the Taylor Swift and Post Malone. Whether or not they loved it at the time, well, they heard it.
Yeah, and maybe they thought it was cheesy, but then they sat down and they listened to this song, and they were like, oh, that's a perfect ballad.
They're like, why can't I stop crying?
Okay, we have a
so
tiny...
moving.
This is like maybe a 4-bar solo. If you're trying to make it on the top 40, you don't let the solo go on too long. But you just have it in there. Just take a little breath before you hit the chorus again. This is the pedal steel. That sound? That's beautiful.
Ooh, that guy's knocking the knee pedals.
Oh.
Oh, he's knocking the knee pedals.
That's tasty. She comes back in with a big belt. Yeah!
Don't need they probably wrote 10 different bridges to this and just threw them all in the trash because you have the perfect chorus.
Yeah,
Just
you
get
don't
back
need a
to
bridge. Let the steel player go, cut the bridge. This melody, man. Okay.
I'm so glad we made it.
Best 2 lines.
Perfect first line. Just do the bookend move.
Songwriting 101.
That's when you know you have the perfect line. Is when the first line is when you can do the bookend move. Not a lot of first lines can you do the bookend move with.
Yeah, you establish the premise of the song so good, tight, you just bring it right back around at the end. That's good. You know, all of our complaints with the song have to do with the supreme irony coming out of her personal life.
Oh, yeah. Other than that, it's perfect. 100%.
Yeah.
And she still performs it live.
And
that would be brutal to me. It would be brutal to me
to perform this live?
Live and think about who's doing the background vocals now on tour. He probably didn't go on tour with her. He's too busy and important to go on tour with his wife. Probably the problem. He's back in Switzerland. She's on tour. She says that she performs it now. She thinks of her mother and stepfather, which is, in my opinion,
Just
supremely
sad, yeah.
fucked up because they were in this incredibly abusive relationship. And so it's like really, it's like you don't have, like, there's nobody else you could think about.
Like not your
What
current
about
husband?
Yeah, what about your current husband? What about your kids? What about
his amazing curls.
it would
Come on.
even like it would be healthier for me if she was just like, I think about where me and Mutt were in 1997 in the studio. That was a beautiful day writing the song. That to me would be healthier than like I think about my mom and my stepdad that beat her in front of me.
They were still the one in the worst way. That like they split up and
Yes.
her mother ran away from the stepdad to get away from violent abuse. and then went back to him because she needed security or didn't know another way, whatever. That's the worst version of "You're Still the One."
Shania, come up with another couple, Shania.
Yeah. So if that's what she's thinking about now, then I don't know if we can accomplish it in a song, but she needs to punch this up with a new song about
maybe,
independence.
maybe retire the song.
Frederick reads
Tipo.
that interview and he's like, "Well, what am I? The chopped liver? The chopped liver over here."
Let me make her some fondue. Is it a different country? Never mind.
Fondue is for any country.
I mean, the man is a Nestle. The man is a Nestle executive. Who cares what country he's from? He's
crazy
all
for
the
fondue.
fondue you want.
Yeah, melted chocolate.
But dessert
every day.
fondue only. Yeah. So this is gonna be tough because it is, I think, the best song ever. We can say now.
Oh God!
Is this the best song we've ever done?
Some doozies. We've definitely punched up some songs that we love, right? But you're going further and saying that this is somehow a perfect ballad.
This is the perfect ballad. So this is gonna be tough. Gigi,
Holy
but
cow.
we've been working on this. We're gonna take a short break.
Okay.
And we're gonna come back and we're gonna play you a version of the best song of all time that's even better than it.
Wow. I'm so excited.
Let's punch it.
Okay, we're back in with a punch up, and for us, this is very simple. They made a nice, solid ballad that was very
A nice ballad?
Andrew thinks it's perfect.
It's the perfect ballad.
It's the perfect ballad. In my humble.
But we all know that it was describing their doomed love, their doomed relationship. And so there's a little bit of a lie. There's, at a minimum, there's an irony.
Yeah.
And so...
And we want Shania to be able to go on tour and perform a song that is true to her moment. What ballad is true to her moment now?
Exactly
with
right.
Fred, with her whole love rhombus that's going on with Marianne, Frederic, and Mutt. Because you know the sides aren't equal. Wait, a rhombus has equal sides. Well, it's quadrilateral.
Parallelogram.
We'll just say quadrilateral.
A scalar quadrilateral. Now, another just important background before I hit play on this is that, as we have described, this is not just a hit album. It's one of the hit albums. Shania has an unreal amount of money and has secluded herself in a different country, expatriated herself to live in the mountains. It's in seclusion. To me, she is writing the resume of a Bond villain. And if you say, no, she's more sympathetic than that because she's been jilted by Mutt. Well, Bond villains have been hurt. They have their reasons for their villainry. They have backstories.
Yeah, just look at Rami Malek's face. Something happened there.
Yeah, Dr. No has an eye patch. He got poked hard.
Yeah. So you're saying Shania's next arc is to become a Bond villain?
I'm saying listen to this punch up and tell me it's wrong.
When I first saw you, I saw a robot built to kill. I'd done it. I would finally have my satisfaction and exact my gruesome revenge on my little muddy poo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now that I've made you, army of robot drones, my baby.
Oh my God.
Titanium alloy. Spent $100 million to do it my way.
Pocket change.
They said,
It's nothing.
I bet she just can't make 'em, but my money proved 'em wrong.
This melody would sell anything.
Wow.
Assassin robots, 500 strong.
Oh my God.
Yes, she's Hydra.
Kill the one named Mud. You'll use the taser prongs to bring the one named Mud to my
I think Shania would love this.
chalet where Mud goes in a pile of 20-foot-long crocodiles. A final deadly kiss.
She's like a little closer to an Austin Powers villain than a Bond villain, but still
Sure.
working.
Ain't nothing better than killing your deepest betrayer. I'm glad that I'm Swiss. It makes it harder to do an extradition.
You gotta think about it.
Said, I bet she'll never kill him. They forgot I'm a country singer from Canada.
Oh my God.
There is nothing I'm not capable of.
Oh my. These lyrics are perfect.
Kill the one named Mutt. You take his tongue and draw it through a deli slicer, nice and fine.
That was too gross for Andrew.
The thrill of seeing Mutt shoved into a dungeon furnace, reflecting in my glass of wine.
Oh my God.
You're
Wow.
more than just a glorified death Roomba. I know you're capable of complex executive function. And sure, vacuuming too. Yeah, you kill the one named Mutt and defend me when I take the
He's a lawyer robot too.
Lawyer
robot. Are all robots. Kill the one named Mutt and become my trusty best friend who never ever cheats.
Oh wow.
So glad I designed ya. Now the world will fear Shania.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh, come on.
I am
I don't
blown
want to
away.
brag too much, but like that punch up is a touchdown, man.
I am
Yeah.
so impressed. Was that Sarah singing?
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, we
Wow.
had a secret weapon in this one, which is that my wife Sarah has a pretty dead on Shania impression.
That
As
was
she has so
insanely
many great
good.
impressions.
As she has so many great impressions.
She's
but
been
about
the secret weapon of the podcast. She
about
did
one
this.
out of every 7 or 8 punch ups, we bust out the secret weapon, and Sarah absolutely
so good.
torpedoed. She torpedoed this
She
one.
nailed
But
it.
Gigi,
Yeah.
you paid me the best possible compliment, which is that you think Shania would like this.
Oh my God. I think she would love
Really?
this.
She'd be offended?
I think she would love this. I mean, this is one of those like brilliant songs where you're like, I can't believe this hasn't been parodied this way. Like it's so good that it's like, I can't believe this hasn't been done before.
I will say when we started working on it, it was all like in kind of a 1997 world where it was like kind of sarcastically saying like, well, what could possibly go wrong with our relationship? And it was so depressing. It made me so sad. And I admit, I don't expect Shania to listen to this podcast, but I couldn't help but thinking like, if Shania heard this version of the song, she would not like it.
Yeah,
it would make her sad.
Yeah, like as rich as she is, it still feels like a punch
It would
down. If
hurt.
you made a whole song
Yeah.
about the age gap.
Where all of a sudden, when we cracked it to be like, still the one, kill the one named Mutt. That's so outlandish. She would never do that, right?
Yeah.
Dun dun dun. That it just became funnier to me. Evan and I, we talk a lot about like we've like in our parody world sideways rhyme. We're like, it's funny to rhyme our punch ups with the original rhyme scheme of the
Okay.
original song.
You want the rhymes to go in the same place.
We built this
Yeah.
city became we
We
feel so shitty
Right.
that we got old instead of on rock and roll. You know,
course.
this, still the one, you just don't have a lot of syllables there. Kill the one named Mutt. I don't know. Once
That's
we
just
had that, it just all
came together.
the puzzle pieces came into place. Kill the one named Mutt.
And you would think, if you're Shania, of course there's got to be some residual anger there. And so I feel like this song would feel so cathartic and fun for her. I feel like someone should send this to her, and I think she would want to perform it.
Will you do that for us? Will you get in? I think
Tweet
you're
it to
less
her.
threatening than us, Gigi. Will you get in touch with Shania?
Yeah, it's too teachers petty. It's too try hard for us to send it. You've got to do it.
Get in touch with
Gigi.
Shania and say, hey, Shania, I think I would make a great personal assistant for you, and then maybe we could grow into best friends. I'll do some light house painting for you.
Oh my god!
And while I'm at it, I have this great song for you to perform on your live
okay,
course
so
while
the-
wearing an NHL jersey. I think
The long game.
That'd be really non-triggering and non-threatening for her.
I feel like you could get in touch with her through the U.S. Open somehow.
Yeah, I think because I'm so close to all of those professional tennis players.
Correct.
No. Or maybe we could just tweet it at her.
What?
We know that she's on Twitter.
Anything goes in the Twitter of today. I think I am a little bit worried about the state of our podcast Twitter because I haven't put parentheses parody in the account name title.
Right. Okay.
And here we are just tweeting song parodies out.
Oh no.
Could be deleted.
Wow. We could get deleted.
Well, okay. The next time I'm in Switzerland, I will definitely,
Thank you. Yeah, do it personally. Yeah, the only thing we want deleted here is Mutt.
But wow. I mean, the rhyming is just perfect.
Thank you.
Just,
Thanks,
You know,
it's just poetry.
you could do a grocery list to this melody and it would work. I sincerely believe that.
Yeah, I mean,
A rutabaga from the produce. Seriously, but I'll accept the compliment. We have a perfect ballad about murder now. It's a short list of ballads that are about long-standing love that you want your grandparents to dance to at your wedding. Even shorter list of murder ballads.
And this might be the whole list. This song, murder ballads about drone and drone strikes.
Well, the question is, so is this song still country with the new lyrics? Do you think that it would cross over?
Great question. Like, just because we made it about robots, is this song now electronica by definition? There are no synthesizers in here, but it's just technically
I
electronica.
think thanks to the quality of Sarah's impression of Shania Twain, it's still country.
Yeah.
It's still country.
I don't know if I'm right.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe the jilted angry lover is that a country trope? Maybe.
Anything you use the word jilted, that feels country to me. Yeah. Growing old is a country trope, for sure. Yeah. In this case, you're growing old in your castle with henchmen and robots, and you have a crocodile pit in this version of your retirement, right? You got a deli slicer just for chopping tongues, just in the torture chamber.
Well, the deli slicer, that's for like Parma ham. I went to Parma a year, 2 or 3 years ago with Casey.
Mm-hmm.
You would be surprised at how many people are missing a knuckle off their
Wow.
finger, and people just have a deli slicer in their kitchen.
From slicing cured meats.
Yeah, we came back and Casey was like, maybe we should get a deli slicer, and I was like, we saw at least 3 people missing a knuckle. Like, that's not an accident. That's in a culture where there's.
I don't think I need
my.
my meat that thinly sliced.
Yeah. One thing you don't want to do if you live in a culture where they have a lot of deli slicers is get jilted.
And then run off with your wife's assistant.
Yeah, it's just very conveniently placed torture device. You flip that thing on, the thing's spinning. It's just waiting for you to say, like, Batman, you'd better talk before every time you don't talk, I move Robin's hand closer to becoming a mortadella.
Muddy Della. Muddy poo.
Oh, I can't believe you saved that to the end. Muddy Della, you're slaying it out here. We'll make a nice lean Muttadella sandwich.
Thank you so much for coming on and picking. Like I said, I think the best song we've ever punched up. Somehow we made it even better, or at least more 2022. We're so grateful you came on. We appreciate it, and we're gonna finish the podcast this week like we finished every week with a little segment we like to call Walk-In Music.
What is your walk-in music?
My walk-in song is a walk-in song, let's say, I'm just going to say it's a wedding reception walk-in song. This is a song I'm going to play when you're getting married and there's nothing that could ever go wrong in
Are you getting
your
married?
marriage.
Are you getting married here?
I guess so,
You
yeah,
better be.
fictionally.
Okay, fictionally. What's the age gap?
17, it's 17 years.
17 years.
17 years.
First thing
And
I
This
asked.
is the song that I'm playing.
For your first
For my
dance?
First dance, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, pure romance.
Well, you hear this song and nothing could ever
go wrong. This is a true love. Anyone that could sing this song is experiencing a true, unbreakable love.
Look into my eyes. I could not believe it when I found out that Mutt Lange wrote this too.
I couldn't believe it either. Yeah.
Couldn't believe.
This guy just has a
the biggest ballads
magic
of the 90s.
touch.
Such a heart.
It's got Mutt's fingerprints all over it. I don't know. What is a signature Mutt song?
I guess he
don't
didn't
know.
write it for Shania Twain though, because he wrote it in 90 or 91, right? So who was Mutt writing this for?
He wrote this.
He wrote it for somebody else, and then they broke up.
He wrote this for the Three Musketeers.
What?
Isn't this on the Three Musketeers
Robin Hood.
soundtrack?
No, this is
Oh,
Robin.
Robin
No, this is
Hood.
Robin Hood.
Oh no, they did another one. They did a carbon copy of this like 5 years later for Three Musketeers that was well, all for love.
Yeah.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
one.
this is for the Kevin Costner Robin Hood. He wrote it for his girlfriend that he had right before Shania Twain.
Ouch.
Then he saw Shania Twain on TV and he was like, honey, just
Ooh.
keep listening to this soundtrack to Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I need to go make a quick phone call upstairs.
Everything I did.
But it's 6 a.m, Mutt.
Well, it's 9 a.m. in Nashville. I mean 12 in England. I need to be talking to the Boomtown Rats. My friends, the Boomtown Rats, whose hit record I produced.
Yeah, Boomtown Rats, nemesis of the pod, if I dare say it.
Boomtown Rats are nemesis, and weirdly, were Mutt Lange's big break. That's a combination made in hell.
Wow.
A band called the Boomtown Rats
Yeah.
and a producer named Mutt Lange. What's your walk-in song this week, Evan?
This is just, let me dial it in real quick. I am a member of,
The Boomtown Rats?
no. For God's sake, if I ever start a
You know
walk-in
Mutt Lange?
scenario with I'm a member of the Boomtown Rats, now it's a challenge. I'll do it in a future week. I'm in Her Majesty's Secret Service, and I've uncovered a lair that's buried deep within the Swiss Alps, and I freaking kick the door in. Do I call in the army to do this for me? No, I go in single-handedly because I've been
Because it's emergency.
trained. And this is the soundtrack to the total destruction of all my enemies, including the archfiend herself, Shania.
Yeah. This is way less James Bond and way more The Kingsman.
This is on the soundtrack of a bad action movie from about 10 years ago called Battleship, where they movified
With Rihanna.
the kids game Battleship. It had Tim Riggins from Friday Night Lights and Rihanna in it. And it's a bad action movie based on the game Battleship, if you can believe that. But they made one correct choice, which is they soundtracked the whole movie to AC/DC songs, which is freaking brilliant. This is my favorite AC/DC song, Highway to Hell, and I would kick in any door to this song. I even used this song as an example a couple weeks ago as the archetype of syncopation when we were talking about Eye of the Tiger.
Have you seen the Kingsman movies, Evan?
No.
I love them, but they're basically like what a 9-year-old child, if you like explain James Bond movies to a 9-year-old child, and then a 9-year-old child was like, I'm gonna write a James Bond screenplay, in terms of like how many like scantily clad girls there are, and like arch villains being beaten up, and like the arch villain schemes. It's like
Yeah.
our Shania Twain scenario is like, including you kicking down the door.
You sold me.
Back in Black. It's like a Kingsman movie.
You sold me.
basically. We were
Again,
there.
this is Highway to Hell, not Back in Black.
Oh, excuse me.
It's only funny because Andrew called Back in Black Highway to Hell, and now he called Highway to Hell Back in Black.
I can't win.
This is great. It's a great black hole. It's like the tiniest possible black hole in your brain to confuse two specific AC/DC songs. This is the best one, though. This is the best song, and this is my James Bond superhero door kicking in walk-in scenario.
What's your walk-in song, Gigi?
I chose Mariah Carey's Someday.
Oh, brilliant.
I just love this intro.
Holy hell, listen to that drum beat.
You think she just does ballads, and then this comes on.
Oh. Woo! This is pure 90s. Pure 90s power. And the sound of this drum machine has not come back. A lot of retro things have come back.
But not, yeah.
Do you have a scenario for us, Gigi?
I-
Fictional or
I guess it's, I was imagining kind of like a Jerry Maguire type of, I'm leaving this company and I'm taking this goldfish with me. Who's coming with me?
perfect for as our
yeah.
podcast episode is ending? You could just take something off the wall here in the studio and just
Who's
charge
coming
out.
with
Honestly,
me? Yeah.
yeah, we have everything we needed for the episode. Really,
This is a good saucy quitting your job scenario. Yeah, for sure. It's got a lot of finger wagging attitude. But in Jerry Maguire, nobody goes with him, right?
I thought it was
doesn't-
Renee Zellweger.
Renee Zellweger goes
The Renee Zellweger.
Yeah.
Well, that's their, in some sense, like their meet cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's so inspired by his speech.
She's inspired by the speech.
She's like, I don't need health insurance.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with this guy.
She wants
For me or my child.
or her child. She wants him to show her the money and some respect and romance. as well. But of course, he's hoping some other agents are going to leave with him.
Yes.
He wants people to actually come.
He's not
Build
hoping
a
for
new-
the assistant.
Yeah, that's what he got. And he got a love that will last forever, for sure. There's nothing that could come between them.
Well, if he had played this song, maybe more people would have left with him.
Yeah. A lot of this is covered in the sequel, Jerry Maguire's Baby.
Jerry Maguire's Baby, yeah.
That's covered in that.
Yeah. It's a sequel to Jerry Maguire, but it's a companion piece to Rosemary's Baby.
No.
Jerry Maguire's Baby, Electric Boogaloo.
Great pick, Gigi.
I don't even really care what happens to your job. I hope you get a new job, but I don't care because I'm just glad this song made it on the playlist. Just want to listen to the song. Man, what great success. Extremely successful episode to play a song that everyone loves and then make it better and then have 3 killer walk-in songs at the end. God, guys, we're nailing it.
Yeah.
Gigi, where can people follow you on the interwebs?
Check out my Squarespace account.
Squarespace dot.
JijiLee.com. Got to make that yearly fee worth it.
You're the man now, dog.
You're on Twitter anymore, or did you leave in the post-Muskian era?
I'm not really on Twitter.
Twitter's canceled.
But,
Just go to
Just
JijiLee.com.
go to
That's the answer.
JijiLee.com.
Just go to JijiLee.com.
You can follow our podcast at Punch Up the Jam on Instagram or Twitter. And as always, you can get our absolutely perfect punch up at our Patreon, which is patreon.com/Gregory Brothers.
You're going to want this one for around the house. Yeah, it may not be very broad. This is very niche and specific scenario. You're going to want to play this if you are Shania Twain, but it just sounds so good.
You're also, but also when your best friend has an affair with your husband and then they get divorced from you and their husband and get together and then you marry the husband. It's just the perfect song for that, too.
Yeah, you know what? Happens more often than you'd think.
Yeah. It does happen more often than you think.
Punch up the jam, punch it up while your feet. Punch up the jam, punch it up, punch it, punch it, punch it. Punch up the jam, punch it up, get the party going. Punch up the jam, punch it up, punch it.
You've been listening to Punch Up the Jam.
That was a HeadGum original.